Welcome, design students. In this lesson, we're going to use subdivision or subobject modeling to create a simple house. So let's get started. In the command panel, make sure you have Create tab selected and Geometry and Standard Primitives, and you should see Box right here at the top. Click that and then drag a box. Now this box doesn't have to be perfectly shaped at this point, so let's go to the Modify tab, and then we can adjust its length and its width to get the house shape that we want. After we're finished with that, let's get the Move tool. We can get it right here, or we can hit W on our keyboard, and when we do, you'll see the object's position in XYZ space down here. If we switch to the Rotate tool, you'll see its rotation angle here, and if we switch to the Scale tool, you'll see its scale percentages here. So we're going to use the Move tool, and we're going to see the position. Now what we want to do is center this in the world, so we're going to right-click on the X, Y, and Z spinners to center it in the world. Now my units are currently set to inches. I'm going to put it back to the default units. To change our units in 3D Max, we come to Customize, Unit Setup, and then we can select what type of units we want to work with here. I want to work with the generic units. And incidentally, the generic units are inches. It just doesn't say that. Okay, now in the perspective view, we want to click on the shading menu and turn on edged faces so that we can see our edges, because we're going to be adding edges to this. And I am going to expand my perspective viewport by hitting Alt-W on the keyboard. And then I'm going to add a segment. Mine turned out to be the length segment. If you click the wrong one, simply click the right one. But you want a segment going down the center of the house. Now the segment's going to allow us to create a peaked roof. So to do that, we need to access this edge right here. Right now, we can't access the subdivisions of this box. So to do that, we need to add an Edit Poly modifier to this object. So come over here to the modifier list and add the Edit Poly modifier. And then we have now access to the vertices, edges, borders, polygons, and elements that make up this mesh. So let's switch to edge mode, and then we're going to grab this edge, make sure we have our Move tool selected, and we're going to move it up to create our roof line. Now these two polygons here at the top are going to be covered up, so we really don't need them. So let's switch to polygon mode and select this one, and then hold down Control so we can select the other one and hit Delete on the keyboard. We also don't need the bottom two, so let's delete those as well. And now we need to create a roof. So let's hit Alt-W to minimize our perspective viewport. And in order to create a new object, we need to exit subobject mode, so we can do that by clicking here. And then we're going to go back to the Create tab, select Box, and in the top viewport, I'm going to click and drag a box that slightly overhangs the one that we created earlier. I'm going to let go of my mouse button and drag up so I create a very thin box. Then I'm going to go to the Modify tab so I can work on the parameters if I need to. Now I'm going to take this box in either the left or front viewport or perspective, and I'm going to move it up to the top of my house. I'm going to zoom in the left viewport, because that's the way mine's oriented, so I can see the front of the house straight on. And I'm going to make sure that that edge that's in the center of my roof box is aligned up with the peak of my roof. Now we have a length segment down the center of this because that was the last thing that we did when we created a box before, and it just repeated it. So to make this look more like a roof, right now it's just a flat box floating on top of our house, we need to access the subdivisions. So we're going to add an Edit Poly modifier to this box. And I'm going to work in vertex mode this time. And in the left viewport, I'm going to select these vertices and drag a selection box around these vertices, hold down Control and select these as well. Then I'm going to drag them both downward. And I've now created an overhanging roof. Now if it needs to be adjusted, you can simply grab these and move them closer or further away to suit whatever it is you're trying to do. So we now have the basic structure of our house, and when we return in the next video, we're going to add more detail to it by extruding polygons for windows and doors. And I'll see you then.